Welcome back to the so-called Xperts, Brisbane's #1 Brisbane Flight Centre Premier League, another game podcast. I'm Phil Davis and I'm here with you.
I'm Fox Sports and I'm going to claim that tag, Rafe Griffin.
Fox Sports, I don't care what you are, you must be some kind of superstar. Well, here we are again. It was fantastic last night, of course. Well done, Rafe. I thought you were just superb. You actually got your head on TV. Did you know you had your head on TV?
I didn't. After it was late, they were more focusing on Cozzy and some of the comments he made in the lead up to the game about Redlands and how Adelaide United were going to monster them.
Yes, well, my immediate thing I wanted to do immediately was pause, rewind, screenshot.
I've got it taped. I haven't watched it yet. I'll take a look later.
But I couldn't miss a minute. It was fantastic. Congratulations to Redlands United.
Extraordinary, wasn't it? You know, for 85 minutes, there wasn't really anything in that match.
No.
And then Redlands threw all caution to the wind. And Eugene Galekovic,
Of all keepers. Yep.
Makes a howler. Mm-hmm. Redlands Michael Lee into an open net. Crowd goes wild. Last kick of 90 minutes, basically.
Yeah.
And then Paul O'Brien, the former Eastern Capella Bar player.
Paul O'Brien from Eastern Capella Bar. And a great pass from that young kid that we were going to know. You said his
Tyler Brayley Cone.
Yeah, great
Scored
pass
against Pine Rivers.
But just a quick assessment on that. I mean, it's not within our genre, I guess, but
everyone's talking about it.
Everyone is talking about it. It's all the people have been talking about in the football community all day. It truly was a magnificent night of sport, even if it wasn't just all about Rafe Griffin.
Oh, look, it's made the mainstream media. It's been all over the papers. I think it's been on like the Today Show as highlights and everything like that.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And at work today, I had people saying to me who have no idea about football, what happened with that Redland Bay thing? Oh, yeah. No, I'm not even going to go down that track.
I've had the same. I've had people come out of the woodwork going, were you the commentator last night?
We should talk about some Brisbane football.
We should. It seems so long ago last weekend.
Thursday, because I was sick on Tuesday. We did get Darren to do a little bit of a stint, but as you may, the more you slip, the more you tighten your grip, Vader. Oh, no, that's Lee. That's Princess Leia.
I've never watched Star Wars, so I have no clue.
What's that line? Your lack of faith disturbs me. I have got a serious blocked head here at the moment.
Can you get on with it now?
In fact, let's look at what happened last weekend. It seems so long ago. I've copped a... What is it with goalkeepers? Goalkeepers and me or
They're
us?
They're a totally different breed, Phil.
Yeah, well, look, I agree.
Now, I've just offended goalkeepers.
Yeah.
You sucked me in.
I agree with Kevin Downs' comments and to a certain extent that the rest of you are a bunch of knobs. But let's look at the games from the weekend. I was out there at Albany Creek versus Mitchelton at Sir Walter Park. Sitting behind the goals with Sammy, having a nice chat to Sam Sleeve. Game kicked off, pretty scrappy. No one really got in the ascendancy. Albany Creek had a couple of good chances. Chom Arop was very close. Kevin Downs made a great save from a close range effort, tipped it over the crossbar. And then Mitchelton got their way back into the game. As soon as they got the first corner, it was about, 25 minutes in, was all Mitchie. And from that point, well, Mitchie's going to run away with this. They scored a goal after Ravesh dropped it. It's 3 times Ravesh dropped corners.
That's unusual for him.
Yeah.
He's quite a tall keeper too, isn't he?
Yeah, he just had the dropsy for about 10 minutes. And I just assumed they're going to come out after the break and wipe the floor with Albany Creek, but it was exactly the opposite. And Albany Creek just dominated the second half. They had so many chances. They had something like 11 shots on goal in the second half. And they thoroughly deserved to win. And, of course, 2 brilliant goals. Park's shot was the first time and just drilled it. And then when Darren Thompson got the free kick out on the left, and there was a big crowd. Well, before I move on to that, but what a great free kick. Curled it in off the post, but... There was a big crowd there, and that's I've been there a few times this year, and they're really doing things. The crowd's growing.
Yeah, they get good crowds when they have those double headers with the Jets out there. It's a really good experience. But just going back to your comments there about Albany Creek and their second half performance, they really are a second half team.
Well, that's what they've done when they beat Holland Park and they beat
Peninsula a couple of weeks ago when I was out there. Yeah,
but I was in. It was a bit of enthusiasm, but they were first to the ball, and they were finding they were using their head too. They were finding where the weaknesses were and probing through there. It's a great win to Albany Creek, and that puts Mitchelton into 4th spot.
Yeah, a bit of jeopardy of missing out on that crucial top 2 position for a double chance in the finals, and Darren and I will talk about that one later.
Yeah, there's also a bit of jeopardy. They might miss out on making the finals altogether.
Possibly.
With the game this weekend. But great win for Albany Creek. They can't make it, can they?
Oh, no, it's just a bridge too far, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're a chance of winning their final 2 matches, but they need results to go their way. And when you're reliant on other teams, it's difficult.
It's very difficult, but I actually think they may not even be able to make it. I think because certain teams are playing each other, that they can't
All
get
the combinations can't quite work out.
So anyway, look, it's been Albany Creek will be kicking themselves because they've had
injuries cruelled them and a bit of squad turnover.
Yeah,
in the first 6 weeks or so.
And also there was a little Barney down at Logan that cost them as well.
Yes,
a few players set off. The next game was North Pine versus Rochdale Rovers out at the worst councillor in Brisbane's home ground, Bob Brock Park. Rochdale Rovers 5, North Pine 1. North Pine scored late in the game, and no surprises, it was Jake Keslake.
I hope Bob Brock is still not with us, by the way, because you might have a lawsuit on your hands.
Well, he's probably quite a good councillor. He just got voted out by someone better. But it's like, a one-term councillor gets park named after him. Rochdale Rovers, Gregory Cheshire, Seiji Shizunu, Jose Mojica Rodriguez, Michael Baird, Lewis Cameron.
5 individual goal scorers.
Yeah, that's a really good sign.
Aren't they a team that's coming right at the right end of the season?
Exactly. I was about to make that very point there, Mr. Griffin. Right into the season, finding the form, Michael Baird back, crucial. Did Juan Carlos play?
I haven't seen him on the team sheet for the last couple of weeks.
Interesting, that one indeed.
I haven't even seen him on the reserve, so I would suggest that unless there's injury involved or something like that.
Yeah, you remember the great controversy with Jake Risby. Well, it wasn't a great controversy. He said that Josh Ahern played really well and against the Salorzano, and it was I thought Salorzano was terrible in that game, and it's turned out that way. No offence to Josh Ahern, of course, he's a great player, but look, Rochdale are into 2nd, and they've got another big game coming up this weekend. The next game was, in fact, it was a season over for someone, Logan Lightning or Peninsula Power. It was a powerful performance from Peninsula. Sean Furigal scored in the 31st minute. Kato Aochi scored twice after the break. Jared Austin scored nearing the end, and Brent Holden rounded it off. And 5-0 Peninsula over Logan. And I did suggest last week I thought that Peninsula would win that, and I thought they'd do it convincingly. Logan have just, they're gone. They're absolutely gone now.
Yeah, they are. They're officially out now.
Yeah, they're officially out. So, I mean, we'll look back at the whole season at some point, but it's a disappointing end again.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
Yeah, well, if they're going to have players that are going to, float in and float out, well, they probably need to look at getting different players that don't float in and float out. Eastern Suburbs versus Capalaba was a 1-1 draw, but one of those two teams really needed a win to get through that, didn't they?
Yeah, look, both of those sides, as you say, needed the 3 points to keep their hopes alive. I mean, mathematically it's still possible, but once again, the fate is out of their hands. Yeah, and Eastern Suburbs, the draw against Holland Park a couple of weeks ago, that's also cost them as well, probably in the end, and I think they're just going to fall short of the top 4. Yeah,
I think they are now. Capalaba's probably got a better chance of making the top 4, but I can't see either of them making it now. There's just too much. There's just too many points there. East, of course, will be on 31, but if they beat UQ, but they're still 4 points behind Mitchelton, so there's too many teams above them. I can't see it. Capalaba could, I don't know. Neither of them are going to make it. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. But Costa Saros and Andy Thompson, goal scorers.
Andy Thompson banged in a great goal last week.
Yes.
No, it was that game, of course. I called it. It is a long time ago. So much has gone under the bridge since then.
Oh my
That's
God.
right, we called that game.
Don't make me laugh. Indeed, you did. Well, you did. The next game was Ipswich Knights versus Lions FC out in the west, and Mooney rested a few players. I believe Declan Murphy got a run. 3-1 to Lions. Yankovic and Gaffney and Kenyon scored the goals. And Andy Butler scored against his former employer.
Side, yes.
Not a lot. Well, nothing, really.
Transmission as normal, really, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and there's nothing on the line. Lions have won the title and Ipswich aren't going to get relegated. Yeah, they've got to be happy with that. But, you know, how do they push forward Ipswich from there? They've got quite a bit of competition around that area, you know. The last game of the weekend, UQFC versus Holland Park Hawks, and briefly for a while, it looked like Holland Park Hawks might not get past the line, even though they were up 1-0 after 35 minutes. It took until the 89th minute for Paul Swithenbank to knock it over, but statistics suggested that it was a bit of a stomping there from Holland Park. Holland Park, of course, are into third place now. They jump above Mitchelton.
And on the same amount of points as Rochedale, just goal difference separating those two teams at the moment. So, yeah, still tight between second, third and fourth.
Yes. Well, the question is, can Peninsula, can they catch Mitchell? Well, look, there are games approaching. It's not this weekend, it's next weekend, but Mitchelton have got Rochedale. That is the key. Peninsula have got East. Now, I suspect that Rochedale are going to be more competitive than East because East haven't got as much to play for. Certainly, by that time, it may be, different. East could drop points at UQ.
They could, yes. As we've seen, we just talked about it then. Yep. Took until the 89th minute for Holland Park to seal it. So.
Yep. I've been saying for quite some time that I think that East, North Pine or UQ will actually upset someone, but...
hasn't happened just yet.
Not yet, no, it hasn't. Not since round one when North Pine beat Capalaba. How much would that be hurting right now? A lot. And, of course...
round one,
yes,
UQFC defeating Peninsula.
Indeed. And then they beat...
They had three games undefeated with top of the table after round three.
Yeah, they beat Easts and Drew with Logan.
Drew with Logan, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, look, that's what happened last weekend. We're getting to the pointy end. Of course, we've got the Canale Cup. And,
So, while you weren't here early in the week, I caught up with our FBTV presenter, Darren Lutton. We had a bit of a look at the Flight Centre Premier League and some of those teams in contention for the top four. I'm going to launch straight into it. Pretend I'm Phil. Power will smash the league, Darren.
Power will smash the league, maybe next year.
Now, in your defence, I think you might have drunk a bit of the Kool-Aid that Terry Kirkham was dishing out at the time.
Yes, I made the bold prediction at the beginning of the season at launch night, and Terry Kirkham convinced me at 2 a.m. that he had the side to win the league.
Just goes to prove that nothing ever good does happen at 2 a.m.
That's true.
It? But look, in your defence, I think since the change in coach from Terry Kirkham to Aaron Philp, things have obviously improved at Peninsula and they're knocking on the top four at the moment.
They are. Aaron Philp's doing a great job with them. But let me explain my logic, Rafe. At the beginning of the season, Lions had lost Cato and Shohil Khan. So they'd lost their strikers. And Power had picked up one of those strikers. Kato Aochi wins the league wherever he goes. And Power's issue last season was they had a good defence but just weren't scoring enough goals. With Mendy and Aochi, it sounded like a good combination to me, and plenty of goals would come, and they haven't quite got it going this year.
I was about to say, you've seen them plenty of times. What have you made them overall over the 20 rounds that we've had so far?
They're a solid unit. Their defence has remained as tight as it has always been. But I still don't think that they've worked out how to use Mendy in their side. He tries, he gets in there, he gets amongst it, but he's just not getting the ball in front of goal or even putting in a cross in front of goal. I still think that is the enigma that they haven't quite worked out.
So Peninsula, 3 points off the four at the moment, sitting in fifth on 32 points. Their remaining fixtures in rounds 21 and 22, at home to Eastern Suburbs and then away to Ipswich Knights. So you'd think they'd pick up the 3 points at Ipswich Knights, although it's never an easy trip out there to Eric Evans Oval. That match against Eastern Suburbs could well determine whether they'll make it through to the four or not.
Well, they've got every opportunity with those two games, haven't they? If they're good enough, if they deserve to be in there, then they'll get the results against those two teams.
A team that's well and truly improved as the season has gone on is Rochedale, now sitting in second, and that is really important, that second spot for a second bite of the cherry in the semi-finals.
It is, and I must say, at the beginning of the season, didn't fancy Rochdale's chances too much. But you can see as the season's progressed, their mentality has really hardened, it's steeled. They've become a hard-working, grinding out results unit. I didn't see that at the beginning of the season, but as it's gone on, they've really come on in leaps and bounds, and Scotty Mack's doing a wonderful job with them.
And starting to find goals of late as well, which is a big boost of the confidence. What's that? 13 goals in the last 3 matches, albeit against some of the, the 3 bottom sides, in Ipswich Knights, UQFC and North Pine. But you can only play the side that's in front of you, and that will give a boost in confidence in terms of goal scoring as well.
That's true, and they're doing it without the goals of Solizano.
Indeed, yes. Hasn't been in the squad in recent weeks. Their run home, Mitchelton and then Holland Park Hawks. So tough run for them.
It is a tough run. That Mitchelton game's going to really decide things, isn't it? It's going to show us where they're both at.
So speaking of Holland Park, they're currently in 3rd position. And really, they have exceeded all expectations, really, not only to be so far up in the table, but also to, be a legitimate finals chance once we get to that business end of the season.
Yeah, I actually had them in my top 4 at the beginning of the season, so they've lived up to my expectations. But even so, they're a strange team, aren't they? They've got such a cavalcade of stars in their side, and it's such a great defence, but they still concede a whole heap of goals. They do score plenty as well. I'd love to see them on just playing week after week on a bigger field. I think it would do wonders for them.
And their run home, an easy one against North Pine, which you'd figure they'll pick the 3 points up in. And as we just mentioned, Rochdale Rovers is their final game of the season down at Underwood Park. So that game may well decide who comes second to Lions.
Yeah, it's going to be a great final day, isn't it?
It's shaping up as a really good final day. We haven't seen final days like this in previous years. It's been pretty clear cut. Now, Phil and I are much maligned sometimes about our opinions about Mitchelton, and we know how strong that Leo Sirianni's opinions are. Mitchelton, what's been your assessment during the year?
I love watching Leo in action. He's got this mentality of you're either with us, and if you're with us, we will love you with all our heart. But if you're not 100% with us, you're against us. And FB Media, as much as we like Leo, we're just not that 100%, are we?
No, we're not quite. Rochdale and Logan Lightning are the run-in for them.
Again, it's just one of those situations where if they're good enough, they'll get the job done, make the top 4. I think Ben and Jai's really got a massive 2 weeks ahead of him here. If he can come up with the goods, he'll be able to steer this team into the semi-finals.
My worry is that they just might drop out of the top 4, which would be a terrible result for them at the end of the day, because they've pretty much been running second for the entire year, and just illustrating how close it is. And they've now dropped to 4th, and look, they do have that game, 3 points on Peninsula, but they wouldn't want to slip too far, Mitchelton, in case some of those other sides below them overtake them.
Yes, and looking at those other 2 sides, Capalaba and Albany Creek, they seem to be coming good at the right time.
May have made their run too late, both those sides.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, they're both 5 points behind, but they're probably out of contention because they need results to go their other way. One side that potentially still does have destiny in their hands is Eastern Sabres, because they do have that game in hand over UQFC, sitting on 28 points, so 7 points still adrift of Mitchelton, but still with 9 that they can make up. So there is that catch-up game against UQFC, and then once again, they've got a tight run in with Peninsula and Albany Creek. Albany Creek arguably the form team of the competition at the moment.
Yeah, I'd love to see East's form since Kostas Saros has taken over the frontline duties. He's been wonderful to watch. He hasn't won player of the match in the games that we've covered of him, but he's certainly been in the top 3 every time. He's added a new dimension to that side. He's definitely a player to watch in the future.
So Lions obviously will be number 1. Who else do you think will get into the top 4?
Ooh, I'm going to say Mitchelton will stay in there. I think they'll be able to pull out at least one of those 2 results, which will get them over the line. I think Holland Park have got the quality to maintain their position. I don't see East's or Peninsula getting over the line. I just can't see it. I think Rochdale, the 4 that's there will remain in place.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. As we said before, those teams outside the top 4, they need destiny to go in their way and other results to go their way in order to qualify for the top 4. So it's looming as an exciting Flight Centre Premier League final series. Now, just looking through the 20 rounds that we've already had, of course, you're out and about every week out at grounds as our FBTV presenter. What have been some of the highlights and things that you've taken away from this season so far?
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed, when I first started, it was the Wolves. The season that Wolves were just dominating the league. And they would win the league in the last 20 minutes of games just by having too much fitness for the teams that they were playing against. Teams would be, maybe 1-0 down or 1-1, and then Wolves would just steamroll them in the last 20 minutes. We're not seeing that this season. It seems that all the teams are fit enough to compete, and with perhaps the exception of UQ and North Pine, who perhaps have a quality issue in their side, rather than fitness. They all look fit enough. As the league ladder shows, any team can beat any team on the day.
Next few weeks, not too far away now from the end of the season. It's all going to come to a screaming halt, and then we wonder what we're going to do for 5 or 6 months.
Yes, it'll be depression once the season ends.
All right, thanks, Darren.
Thank you very much, Rafe. And any mechanics out there? Editor at footballbrisbane.com.au.
I've got to get that reference in. Juddy loves it. Yeah, so that was my catch-up with Darren earlier in the week.
Yep.
How about you, Venture? We keep on talking about this.
Yeah.
What's your, Lions in top? Who else is going to make it into the top 4?
Look, this is a tough question, and I'm likely to get battered.
And I'm even going to say what order.
Okay, well, look, Lions are going to finish first. Where do we go from there? Look, I think Rochdale will beat Mitchelton. Now, Mitchelton are going to throw stuff at me. I'm going to get called knobs and jobs and robs and gobs and whatever. But I think Rochdale will beat Mitchelton. Now, that opens the door for Peninsula. I also think Peninsula will beat East. Right? Okay. But in saying that, Peninsula are ropey sometimes. So if that happens, we'll see the 4th place will be equal. Mitchelton and Peninsula. And Peninsula have got a 3-goal advantage. So it could come down to the last game of the season. Mitchelton are going to beat Logan Lightning. Peninsula will probably beat Ipswich. You would have, now it could come down to how many goals Mitchelton can score against Logan.
It's going to be potentially a final, an exciting final day. Peninsula travelling to Ipswich and Capalaba, the very last game of the year.
Yes.
Against UQFC at 6 o'clock on a Sunday night.
Yes. So if Mitchelton can bang a few away on the Saturday night, then the pressure will be on Peninsula to score goals. So I think Mitchelton will lose to Rochdale, but I think Mitchelton will make the top 4. Okay. I just think they will. I've just got a feeling that they'll score quite a few goals against Logan, and that could be the defining thing. And Peninsula could fall over it. They've got more chance. If you look at Peninsula's season, there is no guarantee that they're going to beat Ipswich, is there?
No, not at all.
And I'm almost going to say it's a certainty that Mitchelton will beat Logan. So I'm going to suggest Mitchelton will finish 4th, and I think Rochdale will finish 2nd, and Holland Park will finish 3rd. So I think that the way it is now is where it's going to be. So,
all right. Now, we've got an off weekend this weekend.
Yes.
We do have the Canale Cup. Let's talk about the Canale Cup semis.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Canale Cup semis. Capalaba versus East at Capalaba. They drew 1-1 on the weekend, and my sources, Rafe Griffin, suggested it was a fairly even game, and it was a bit lacklustre.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot in it.
Yeah,
as you'd expect between those two sides, actually.
Yeah. Now, you would suggest that Capalaba play better at home. They tend to play better at home. Whether that pans out the whole year, I can't really tell you. But I suspect that Capalaba should be slight favourites at home. But I think it's going to be a draw. it's going to go extra
Oh,
time.
I think it will too.
I don't think I'm going to get to bed till 11:30.
And
Thank God it's Friday tomorrow.
And the other games on Friday night at Terrelwa Park,
Yep.
Mitchelton hosting the Ipswich Knights.
Oh, yeah, well, Mitchelton will win that. Mitchelton are a better side than Ipswich. Ipswich is struggling at the moment. If next, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, they could be better against Peninsula, but they've got injuries. So Mitchelton at Terrelwa Park against Ipswich Knights, they've got enough talent to score goals, and I think they're defensively, that's their strength. So they get in front against Ipswich there through. It would be one of the biggest upsets of the season if Ipswich were to win that. But of course, we both watched Redlands beat Adelaide last night, didn't we?
We did.
Yes. So, yeah, my tip would be that, look, I think it'll be Capalaba Mitchelton.
Yes, I'll go the same.
Yeah.
Palabar are well set up for a cup campaign.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the Canale Cup semi-finals. I think it's a good time just to take a look around the other leagues, given that we've got a bit of a wet weather weekend.
Yeah.
And Capital One, so wide open amongst the top four. North Star on 42, Souths on 41, Grange on 40, and Southside Eagles on 39.
Indeed. Bayside still can make the top. They can make the top four.
Provided they win both their games and Southside Eagles lose both their games.
Indeed, and Southside Eagles got Grange in the last game, so you can assume that. But they could lose that one. But you can't see Bayside from here, although they have some tough games as well. But anyway, look, the top four. Who's going to get promoted? If you look at the games coming up, South United are going to go up. They've got Moggle, they've got Brisbane Knights. The other teams have to play each other, I think. So, for me, I think the top two will be North Star and South United.
So the way they are at the moment is the way they're going to finish. North Star with Grange, Thistle and Moggle in the final two rounds.
Yeah, look, obviously North Star versus Grange Thistle is the biggest game, and that will be the one that decides whether Grange can go up.
Centenary with a catch-up game this weekend against Brisbane Knights, and if Centenary can win that, that'll buy themselves some room at the bottom of the table in a bid to avoid relegation. But Mount Gravatt,
what a win!
Aren't they the story?
Week. I mean, they scored 2 goals late in the game and came back from 2-1 down to beat Brisbane Knights at Rockley. You know, that's some achievement. So I've seen this happen before. A team gets momentum and the other teams that need to lose, they start to crack. You would think, well, look.
So I think we're in agreement. Pine Rivers are going down.
Oh, yeah, Pine Rivers are gone.
So Mount Gravatt or Centenary.
They got smashed last week, 7-0 by South. And from my sources, they were lucky they didn't concede 7. So it's Mount Gravatt or Centenary to go down. Centenary, whatever. They really need to win that catch-up game, don't they?
Yes.
It's vital.
And then they play each other next weekend, and then Mount Gravatt with a trip out hosting Pine Rivers. So relegation and their chances of avoiding it really, well and truly, it's in their destiny at the moment, Mount Gravatt.
It's a really, really tough thing to do. They should beat Pine Rivers. They're good enough to beat Centenary, obviously, because they've been winning. But I just have a feeling that Centenary are heading back to Capital League 2. That's my tip. I think Mount Gravatt will stay up and Centenary will join Pine Rivers in Capital League 2. Well,
speaking of Capital 2, we know the Gap, they claimed the premiership last week with a win against Acacia Ridge.
Yeah.
Who will be the other team promoted? Annerley in the box seat at the moment, but Acacia Ridge in third, 4 points behind, still with a catch-up game against Pine Hills.
I think that Annerley will go up with the Gap. I think Acacia Ridge are arguably a better team, possibly. I don't know a lot about Annerley. I know a bit, obviously. But I think Annerley's 4-1 win over Brisbane Force last week, really, it set out their stall. And if they can beat Brisbane Force 4-1, then they will beat anyone. So with 2 games to go, I suggest that it will be the Gap and Annerley. And
Acacia Ridge and Brisbane Force have already qualified. So
they have already qualified, and I think that Acacia Ridge and Brisbane Force will be regrouping, and next year they could be the 2 that go up regardless, because the 2 that drop down won't be as good.
So the relegation part of the table, anyone from 8th place Pine Hills on 19 points, Ipswich City on 19, Park Ridge 18, Slacks Creek 15, Redcliffe PCYC on 14. like there's still a 3-point gap between Park Ridge in 10th and Slacks Creek in 11th, but mathematically, 5 teams still in that race, but I think it's just a bridge too far for Slacks Creek and Redcliffe PCYC at the moment to try and make up that gap.
So the thing is, Redcliffe PCYC are winning. They have been in form for about 4 weeks. They have been consistently winning. I wouldn't bet on them getting relegated.
No?
No. Well, look, it's tough, obviously. They've got the Gap and Western Spirit. They're still favourites to go down, obviously. But Slacks Creek, and Park Ridge won 3-0 over Ipswich City, which was the changed it. So, I don't know. The draw's too hard. Yeah, Slacks Creek and Redcliffe PCYC to go down. But don't forget, last year Slacks Creek won the last couple of games and stayed up.
Yeah, that's right.
And Park Ridge are not much chop, let's be honest. And same for Pine Hills.
So Capital 3,
yes.
Virginia in the box seat for promotion. They've got a 4-point gap over Toowong, who are just trying to stave off Tarragindi 1 point behind in that promotion race.
Yeah, Virginia will go up, surely. 5 points. They need, they effectively really need Tarragindi to overtake Toowong, which is an ask in itself, and then catch them. Virginia United play Tarragindi next week, and if they win that one, which I suspect they will be promoted, and it will do Toowong a massive favour. Toowong play AC Carina, and I suspect Toowong will win that one, although AC Carina have been into a bit of form lately. They've got Westside in the last game. Westside got stomped last week, 6-1 by someone. But Barton Latrobe.
That's right.
It was Barton Latrobe. For me, nothing's changed. Virginia and Toowong to go up. A good season from Tarragindi. I think the final series will be interesting in that because it's so many times we see the top sides that finish in the top 2 and they get promoted and they do really well, and then the final series changes it all around. So don't write off Tarragindi and AC Carina or Jim Boomba. Or even Newmarket. Newmarket can still make the 4,
Newmarket can still make the 4.
That will be the story of the season if that happened, wouldn't it? They were in the relegation race 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
AC Carina and Barden Latrobe in a catch-up match this weekend where if Barden can get at least a point, that'll get them out of the race for relegation. But, Maroondah with an inferior goal difference and Ridge Hills... look like that they'll be the two making the drop down to Capital 4.
Yeah, it's done and dusted down there. Maroondah can't catch that goal difference. So. Capital 4.
Capital 4. So we had a catch-up match on Tuesday night where Caboolture defeated Samford by 4-2. So that puts Caboolture back on top of the table again.
Yep.
And then this weekend, Caboolture versus St George Willawong, 6 p.m. Sunday evening down at St George Willawong.
Whoever wins is definitely promoted. If it's a draw, Caboolture are definitely promoted. In fact, if it's a draw, they're both... No, of course, because Samford will still be... 5 points. The Samford... I think it turned out how we all kind of thought it would. Samford were the wild card. They could make it, but they weren't going to make it. And then once they lost that, it's all over. Caboolture and St George Willawong will be promoted, and as they should, because they've been the 2 best teams. And frankly, I want to see them get both promoted because you just don't... Look at those goal differences.
So, Caboolture, 142-4, and St George, 126-4, Samford, 123-4.
Yes, and they're obviously in the wrong league. But Caboolture and St George are up, but there's a lot of pride on the line this weekend. It's going to be a massive game. Predictions of one of the biggest crowds of any...
1,000 people they're expecting.
Yeah,
Which is almost the same as last night at Perry Park.
Yes. What was the crowd at Perry Park?
1,500, I think.
Oh, okay. That's a good turnout. That's it. And the Wooden Spoon is going to go to either Greenbank or Brighton. Or Logan Village, but we won't harp on that.
And it looks like Bethania will be playing finals football with those other 3, Caboolture, St George, Willawong and Samford.
Indeed they will. So, that's what's happening in Capital 2. The Capital 4, Capital Leagues. What else is there this weekend? Anything?
We're filming the City Cup finals, the City League Cup finals.
Yeah, it's always a great day.
Logan Lightning involved in both the women's and the men's finals.
Yeah, it's always a great day with the 2 cup finals on at the same time. And with Logan Lightning involved in both, there'll be a huge supporter base there, which is good. We've got East versus UQ on Sunday.
Sunday night, yep.
East should win that one, but little, the UQ. Well, who knows? They don't
Could
have
throw a
anything to
spanner
play
in the
for.
works.
Yeah. And UQ will be relegated if they lose that, I believe.
I think the points difference are already too great now.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure. What else is on the weekend? North Brisbane play Brighton, I believe. I think North Brisbane will win that. There are a few other catch-up games on around. Most of them have no bearing on anything. So this is a weekend off if you want to get out somewhere and watch a game. Well, it's probably not the best weekend, but we recommend getting out to St George's Park at Willawong.
And if you can't, that one's being filmed.
Yes,
As I said, we're filming the Sidley Cup finals, as well as the Friday night Canale Cup match between Mitchelton and Ipswich Knights.
Indeed. So I am off to Capalaba shortly, and you are going to go and watch the Redlands game?
I'm going to go and edit this podcast and edit
of course.
out all your coughing.
Yes, I've been a little sick. Thank you to everybody who sent me through cards and stuff. It's a funny old thing on that little chat window. Everyone just gives me crap, even whatever happens, because I am Mr. Calamity. Is there anything else we need to round up for this week?
No, I think that's it for the time being. I think we've done a good roundup.
Yeah, it's a reasonable roundup.
It's a long podcast again, so...
Yeah, we could chop it down, we do what we want. The podcast is our own baby. Thank you for listening in, and we will be back next week, and we will be running to the finals, and we are at the pointy end of the season, and I've been Phil Davis here in the Superstars spare bedroom.
I like to call it the studio. The bedroom has a sort of connotation to it.
I'm in the Superstars studio. You don't care what you are.
I'm Rafe Griffin, and I'm saying goodbye and ending this podcast right now.